Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So day 4 of the World Juniors is in the books. This was probably the most eventful day yet. Slovakia improves to 3-0. Finland finally gets a win. The United States wins a shootout thriller against Czechia, and then Sweden goes on to win 2-0 against Canada in a pretty controversial third period. But today, I wanted to look at some of the players that have either surprised, played well over expectations, or have kind of disappointed their teams on the whole. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to have 4 of each. And up first, I got Seavoy Petrovský of Slovakia. This guy is absolutely balling out for Slovakia. Right now, he is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the forward of the tournament, maybe the MVP of the tournament. It would probably be between him and his goddamn goaltender, Adam Gajan. But when you look at him, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points in 3 games for Slovakia. He had 2 goals and 2 assists today. I think he had 2 goals and 1 assist against Czechia, not against his own team. But when looking at the Slovakia team coming into the tournament, you expected guys like Sam Honzik, Dalibor Dvorsky, Filip Mesar, who are all playing great as well, but you expected those guys to be the stars of Slovakia, and instead, it's a 6th-round pick from 2022, and of course, he's a goddamn Minnesota Wild prospect. They just have such a fantastic prospect pool. And although he's definitely playing above what we expected, this guy is a pretty solid prospect. He's not absolutely killing in the OHL, but he has been point per game. He has 10 goals, 18 assists in 28 games for the Owen Sound attack. And yeah, if he could parlay this into a solid OHL season, I don't think he's going to make the NHL roster next year, but he could develop well with the Iowa Wild and eventually one day maybe be like a solid bottom 6 or third liner. The Minnesota Wild, they're just absolutely loaded. And just watching him in this tournament, his one-timer is fantastic. He's everywhere on the ice, making plays happen and obviously potting a ton of goals. So when you look at Slovakia, they have 9 NHL affiliated forwards. I was very high on them. I had them in the finals, and Seavoy Petrovský has been a major reason why they've started 3-0, and I cannot wait to watch him against the United States. A kind of a disappointment thus far has been Fraser Minten. This guy has been getting torn apart recently because he is the captain. Canada looked pretty goddamn flat today against Sweden, and Fraser Minten only has a 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points in 3 games. He's taken some bad penalties as well. That has absolutely killed Canada. They've not, in Latvia, they didn't take any penalties, but in their first against Finland and against Sweden, they took some pretty ill-advised penalties. Fraser Minten took 2 of those, and just looking at this guy, he was given the captaincy, which is definitely overhyped in my opinion, especially for a tournament like this. When you look at an NHL team, a captain is very important to a team, but for a goddamn 7-game tournament, it doesn't really matter that much. But obviously, when he was given that captaincy, Leafs fans kind of like gloated and was like, oh, Fraser Minten's so legit, but he has not really produced to the expectations of a captain or even just the expectations of Fraser Minten. Obviously, even with the captaincy, he wasn't expected to be a top 3 forward on this team, but he was still expected to be a top 6 forward. He was playing with Geeky and Dumais for, I think, the first 2 or 3 games. Like, he has been getting top 6 minutes with Connor Geeky, but he has not really produced to a high level. And again, this is a guy that made the Maple Leafs out of camp. He had a great camp. He played 4 NHL games, didn't score any points, looked okay. Then he gets sent back down to the WHL where he has only 5 points in 6 games. So I think people did kind of hype up Fraser Minten just because he did make the team out of the camp. I don't think that he is this superstar elite prospect that some people thought after he made the team out of camp and after he got the captaincy of Team Canada. But he has definitely been a disappointment, and going forward, he's going to have to play a lot better and stay out of the penalty box if Canada is going to end up three-peating in this tournament. Another very surprising player has been Theo Lidstein for Sweden. Yes, he is a first-round pick. He was a 2023 first-round pick by the St. Louis Blues. But this guy was a late addition to the team because of an injury. And now he has 5 assists in 3 games for Team Sweden, who have obviously been fantastic. They have, what is it now? Like, they've shut out every team. I think it's like a 13-0 goal differential. They've definitely been the best team in this World Juniors. And yeah, Lindstein, with this blue line, you got guys like Axel Sandin Palika, Willander, Elias Pettersson, the other Elias Pettersson. He wasn't even, especially getting called up on the team because of injury. He wasn't expected to be like that key of a piece. And yes, he is only, I think, 4th or 5th on the team in ice time, but when he's on the ice, he is making things happen offensively. He is proving that he is a very good puck-moving defenseman. And yeah, I think ASP doesn't even have a single point, but Lindstein has been generating a ton of offense for this team. He had assists on both of the goals against Canada today, so he has been very impressive in my opinion. And when you look at the Blues prospect pool, it's a lot of forwards, but Lindstein's really the only elite defenseman, especially with Scott Perunovich, I botched that name probably, going to the NHL. He's no longer a prospect. He is going to have to be, and I'm sure they're going to draft defensemen over the next 2 drafts, but right now he is their crown jewel defenseman prospect, and it's very encouraging if you're a St. Louis Blues fan. Just overall, Dvorsky's playing very good. Snuggerud's playing very good. I'm blanking on his. Otto Stenberg had a goddamn hat trick the other game, but yeah, another disappointing player. I'm going to say Lane Hudson, although I'm going to preference this with his game versus Czechia was his best game of the tournament thus far. He was all over the place. Obviously had that great pass to Ryan Chesley for the goal. This was his best game, but the first 2 games, he's not invisible, but I expected him to take over far more against Switzerland and against the Norway. Obviously, the United States didn't really show up against Norway for the most part, but Lane Hudson, I was expected to be the defenseman of the tournament. He does have 2 points in 3 games, but again, those were the first 2 games were by far the easiest 2 games. Didn't really look that fantastic. I still think he's a good long-term prospect. Again, none of these guys I'm overreacting and saying like Lane Hudson was my number 5 prospect in my latest prospect rankings. He'd be all the way down at 25 now. I'm not a hype beast like that, but I think Lane Hudson, if the United States are gonna have to play better and end up winning gold medals, he's going to have to play much better, especially on a defensive standpoint. The overall defense from the United States, not even the offense from Lane Hudson. I think the defense needs to be much better, and I think he will start playing better, but right now he has been a little bit disappointing, considering I thought he was the best defenseman in the entire tournament coming into it. Another riser, Michael Brandsig-Nygaard. He's about a 2024 prospect. Yeah, I don't think I botched the name. Nygaard. He's a 2024 projected first-round pick, mid-first-round pick. I thought he looked very good against the United States. He had a ton of chances off the rush. He looked very dangerous against the United States. Didn't really finish with any points because Norway only had 1 goal, and it was like a breakaway goal. I don't even know if there's any assists on that one. But today, against Slovakia, he registers 2 goals and 1 assist. He finally starts cooking offensively, and this is what we're talking about with this guy. He has a chance to be the first Norwegian first-round pick ever, and he has obviously been doing very good in the Swedish juniors. He had like 12 points in 7 games. He went up to their AHL equivalent, has been producing at a pretty decent rate, and seeing him in this tournament, obviously on a team like Switzerland or Norway, where he is by far the best player, he has produced pretty well. He's been a pretty solid play driver in terms of overall offense, and I think this tournament is definitely going to help his draft stock. It shouldn't be the end-all be-all. Again, I'm not saying I had him like 14th as my 14th best prospect. I'm not moving him to goddamn like 6th or 7th. Maybe he goes from like 14 to like 12 based on that I've got some real eyeballs on him, but he has definitely been impressive in my opinion. A disappointment, though, is Collin Helenius. Yet again, scoreless for Team Finland. I had him as my number 2 prospect in the 2024 draft as of right now. I still think he is a very intelligent player. You watch him go through his reads, but in terms of just you see Macklin Celebrini just makes it happen. And again, I was never comparing Helenius to Macklin Celebrini. Macklin Celebrini was in a tier of his own. But Macklin Celebrini has the tools and is producing at a high level. And he's using his physical tools in order to produce. I'm not really seeing that with Helenius. I'm seeing the IQ. I'm seeing the IQ out there. But overall, he's not really wowing me with his skating, with his passing, with his shot. So I have been pretty disappointed. Right now, maybe I would have Yzerman or Demidov because, again, those 3 were very close. I just personally went Helenius over those because I think he's a much better defensive player than those 2 guys. But in terms of the offensive tools, it is becoming apparent that Helenius probably doesn't have 70-plus point, 75-plus point potential in him, which, again, you don't have to be. He can be a 60, 65-point great 2-way center, and that's worth the goddamn 2nd overall, 3rd overall, 4th overall, considering how many times guys bust there. But Helenius has been a little bit disappointing. The final surprise, Gavin Brinley. I really liked watching Gavin Brinley in this tournament. He has 4 goals, 1 assist in 3 games. I didn't realize, obviously he had been goal scoring at a decent rate at Michigan, but this kid has a fantastic release. Considering he's only, 5'10", he can absolutely whip it, and it's a very deceptive shot that the goaltenders don't really see coming and don't really expect from a guy of Gavin Brinley's stature. So I think at the next level, he's not just going to be this like little Johnny Gaudreau type playmaker. And I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Johnny Gaudreau, but he's clearly going to have a pretty decent shot at that next level. And the fact that he fell to the 2nd round to the Columbus Blue Jackets, that was clearly a bad decision by the teams in the late 1st round to not take a chance on him. I didn't have him as like a lottery pick grade, but I had him in that mid-20s. He ended up going 33rd or 34th. It was clear that this guy has a ton of talent, and it's going to translate to the next level. He's not he's not like 5'7" or like 5'6". I think he's like 5'9" or 5'10". He's going to be an elite player. He has been one of the best forwards on Team USA, and I think he's progressing very well. And the final disappointment is Matthew Seavoy. I had him as my third best forward on Team Canada coming in. He has 1 assist in 3 games. This guy has not really lived up to expectations. He was playing fantastic in the WHL. He had 11 goals, 13 assists in 11 goddamn games. And yeah, 1 point in 3 games. And mind you, Canada has scored 15 goals. Obviously got blanked against Sweden, but against Latvia and against Finland, he didn't even produce that much. And especially in this game, you needed one of your top forwards to step up and get you a goal. And Seavoy probably had the best chance out of any Canadian forward today on that breakaway and just straight up lost that puck. He has been very disappointing. You look at Celebrini's obviously produced. Pontra, I think he has like 2 goals in 3 games or something like that. If Canada is going to go deep in this tournament, they need a guy like Seavoy that was expected to be either their 3rd or 4th best forward to really step up, or else they're probably going to lose to the semis to the Team USA or even like a Slovakia. In my opinion, it has been very disappointing for Matthew Seavoy, a guy that I am still very high on, but he definitely needs to step it up on a tournament like this. But let me know in the comments, who are some guys that have been surprises or disappointments in your opinion, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.